Hi, I'm Bark, and welcome to Slot Journal. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I'm new too. This is my first YouTube video. It's kind of a test run to tell you a little bit about myself and what I'd like to accomplish on the channel and what kind of things we'll be talking about. So let's step on it. So I guess I'll start off with telling you a little bit about myself. I've been collecting and running 132 slot cars for probably over 20 years now. The channel is an expansion of what I've been doing on my website, which is slotjournal.com since about 2010. Started as a way just to keep track of my hobby activities as a journal or like a diary. Of what I was doing and other activities in the slot car world. Most of my life, I've made a living writing, mostly in advertising and marketing. So communication with the written word is pretty natural to me. While I've written and produced a lot of radio commercials and broadcast television, I never had much experience on, all hands-on editing. So creating content for YouTube was slightly more of a challenge for me. But, all our friends out there in the slot car community are saying, just hit record. So that's what I'm doing. So my slot car history, let's go to that a little bit. The first slot car set I can remember playing with, or in fact, anything like a slot car set, goes back to probably the Christmas around 1961 or 62. And it wasn't even mine. It was my oldest brother got a set for Christmas. It was this Ideal Toy Company. I think the set was like a 124 scale. And my dad had actually on Christmas morning already pre-mounted it to like a 3 by 5 foot piece of plywood, and had it all put together. And looking back at this closer, I realized I don't even think you could actually race on this set. I think the cars just kind of cruised around up and down this vacuum formed hillside and kind of a figure eight, as I recall. But I just still can recall, we having a Christmas party and watching my brothers play with this. And I just thought it was, the coolest thing ever. So that was, again, a long, long time ago. But again, fun stuff. And I know one of those cars sat on my dad's workbench for years. Then around 1970, 71, through the 60s, I was a Matchbox kid. I collected Matchbox cars, Hot Wheels, and I set those up and raced them along with all my friends. That was just the big thing at that time. And then probably around 70, 71, my older brother, his girlfriend at the time, bought him as a Christmas present an AFX set. And he actually did marry her, so obviously getting him a slot car set. She was a keeper. But I used to set this up. Again, he let me play with it. I kind of inherited it because he played with it a couple times, and then that was about it. And set it up on a table, set up my Matchbox City and my Hot Wheels, and I just kind of threw everything together. And like kids always do, you kind of, build your own little world there and combine all the parts and pieces and have a lot of fun. So that was something that, I really enjoyed at the time and spent, many hours playing with that. Then I wasn't, really involved in slot cars at all. Got up totally away from the hobby for years. And then probably around the late 90s, picked up a Arton 132 scale set. Penny's was selling these big 4-lane tracks for about $100, after the holidays. And I picked one up. And this was the time when actually I discovered 132 because I had picked up a HO set and was starting to fiddle around with that. But, I soon discovered that the kind of cars I like, endurance racers, things you'd see at Le Mans, and Can-Am racers, other than those early AFX, those vintage cars and stuff, there really wasn't very much available. And this was about the same time that Fly came out. And, once I saw what was available there, and they were just coming out with the Fly Classics, all those Le Mans cars that, I really loved as a kid. I went to 132, picked up this Arden set. Not too long after that, I picked up another two-lane track and put it together in the basement. And this was my first layout, which was, not bad. I got into scenery a lot, as you can see, painted some backdrops and put together, and had a lot of fun using some old school scenery techniques you'll see there in bits and pieces. But I enjoyed this track for several years and, had a lot of fun with it. But it wasn't too much longer after a while. I wanted something a little bit bigger, a little bit more involved. So then I got some more track and I built a larger track. This was styled after a European type of, track that was partly on a track, partly on a road course. And this was called the Schweiser ring. It would have been placed in Switzerland. That was kind of the scenario I had in my head for it. And I spent a long time building this track, really got involved. A lot of this was scenery was done in, plaster strips and laid out. I found a lot of parts and pieces and various things I used to create all the structures. Other things I found, like a toy castle I converted. Things like the grandstand, some of the other buildings were all, scratch built. And again, had a lot of fun, really enjoyed this track, but honestly, it never really got completed. I probably got about 75% complete. This track sat for a while. And then several years ago, after a while, my wife and I, we decided we had some other plans for this part of the basement, this roughly 10 by 12 room where it was located. So the track all came out, and the area is ready to be cleaned up again, and soon we'll be building another track in this space. So that's a little bit where I'm at right now. I don't have a track right now. I have all the parts to recreate basically the track I had, which I hope to start pretty soon, but I'm going to do a much better job of construction. That track was kind of cobbled together on a mix of different surfaces. But the track I have now is a little bit different, and I'll probably go more into that in a future video. The track I have is similar, but the original track had a lot of R1, R2 curves. This one is set up in a very similar manner, but it has a lot of R1s and R3s and R4s, so it makes it a little bit more flowing, and I think it'll make for a little bit better experience. But right now, let's talk a little bit about what you might see on this channel as we go forward. Obviously, we're going to talk about slot cars. We'll talk about different brands, different types of slot cars. And occasionally, I want to give you a little blast from the past. Again, collecting for 20 years, I've been able to obtain some different cars that, some of them are cars that people have forgotten about. They were interesting cars, maybe not as fast as today's cars, but definitely things that are fun to run and things you should probably know about. Tracks. We'll talk about tracks on various brands, types, approaches to track design, things you might want to think about if you're planning a new track, depending on what you like to do. And that's a really important thing because, there's all different kinds of tracks. People do very simple tracks, big flowing tracks if they're doing like non-magnet racing. Other people just like to fit the maximum amount of track in the space they have. And that's one approach. It's not what I necessarily agree with, but if that floats your boat and that's what you like, then that's okay. There are things you have to take in consideration still to make those tracks work, make them successful. Track building, though, various methods. There's different ways to talk about the tracks and put them together, whether you're using wood or plastic or combinations thereof. There are things like hybrid tracks. Don't get in a lot. I do analog myself. I don't do digital, and that's not because I don't think digital is a great thing. I think it is, but I'm just kind of old school, and frankly, I'm not afraid to admit that I don't have the hand-eye coordination to run, digital, and so that's just, that's the way I roll. But again, there are a lot of things that work for both kinds of tracks. Another thing that we'll be doing, and a big part of this will be in the future, is as I build my third track now, we'll follow along on that. I want to show people, how we do that. And various options you have when you're building the track. Tuning, my approach to tuning is pretty casual. I mostly tune for smoothness and handling on most of my cars rather than all out speed. I just want to make them enjoyable to run on my track. Um, but we will talk about improving performance. I think that's important. And when you get into racing, if you're doing club racing, going to commercial track, that's a whole different thing. It's a whole different kind of tuning. And we'll talk about that too. But I'll tell you right now, there are people when it comes to tuning who've probably forgotten more than I know. And I would direct you to them, and we'll talk about, people who are really skilled, have really great experience when it comes to tuning a car and making it go faster. Another thing we probably won't do is like industry news, because there are great people out there. Dave Kennedy obviously comes to mind, who does slot car news. He's been doing it for years. He gets all kinds of great information, and he has the contacts and the experience in the industry to really, give you the information you need and keep you up to date. Likewise, over in Europe, Travis from that slot car guy is doing a great job. He covers all scales and does some interesting things there as well. So we'll let the people who do the news best do the news. And although at some point, if there's something going on in the slot car world, we may talk about it. Things we see going on in the hobby. You may hear some opinions, so, don't be surprised. The main focus here, the one thing I want to highlight is that this is all about fun. You may hear me poke fun at myself. I'm not that serious a guy. You may also hear me challenge some of the ideas and platitudes, all these old chestnuts that you'll find in every hobby. And we have them in slot cars too. And I'll maybe poke fun at some of those things too, because, I don't always go along with the flow. I'm known sometimes to be a little contrary, but not always. But again, it's just something we like to have fun with. This is a hobby, though, I would stress, you have to discover it for yourself. If you're new to the hobby, you have to decide how you want to enjoy it. Don't let anybody tell you how you can enjoy the hobby. Let them do their own thing. You do yours. My way and the things I talk about might not be for everyone. You can take what works for you. What doesn't work, forget it. That's fine. That's the great thing about the slot car community. There's a lot of great information in there. But, you use what you can use. And what you can't, just set aside, because it's not for everybody. You can take the best and leave the rest. I'm also notoriously cheap. So if I can, I will try to help you find ways to save some money. Because again, this can get a very expensive hobby. You start buying cars and buying track and buying accessories, it can get expensive really quick, especially if you're doing digital racing. Obviously, there's an extra cost there, if you're chipping your cars. So that's something else you want to think about. One other thing, and some people talk about this, others don't, is hobby life balance. That's something for me, because I've found that staying organized and interested and focused on a hobby is not always easy. I have a lot of different hobbies, and I've gotten positions where I've enjoyed them for a few months, and then, believe it or not, it is possible to get burnt out. If you're trying to do a little bit of everything, you get so tightly focused. Sometimes, it doesn't take much to get your attention and distraction a little bit and go some other way, for a little while. That's a challenge. Organizing your time is very important. Plus leaving things like, family, work, all the other things you got to do. We're getting into summertime now. I got to go mow the yard. This is home maintenance time. This is probably not the greatest time to be starting a YouTube channel, though. When are you going to do? You just do it. That's the way you have to approach it. So that's something else we want to talk about. But I don't want to let you go without showing you a car. Obviously, some cars. So I'm just going to share this one. Just popped in the mail today. I ordered, and it's a Fly. It's an old Fly. And people criticize Fly cars all the time because, they run like crap. but they look beautiful. I don't think anybody will dispute that. And what I've got here, this is a fly. It's a Venturi. Um, and again, this was a new car, and you can pick these up for a song. And, I'll be the first to admit, you're not going to run these with, newer cars. But to run them against each other, they're a lot of fun. This is my third one, which again, I'll have a class I can run here at the house. And I like even numbers, so I'm probably going to get a fourth one. But again, these are kind of things, if you just want cars to add to your stable, this is a great option. And again, you can pick these up. I've seen them for as little as $25, and then add a little shipping. And that's a great value for a car that looks that good. So that's pretty much all for now. I would encourage you to, if you want to subscribe, tell people about the channel, discover us, and we'll have a little more content as time goes on. We'll try to think of more things that we can talk about. Again, all the things I just discussed earlier. But that's it for now. Thanks for visiting, and hope to see you again soon. Hey, if you want more cool slot car content, be sure to visit the website at www.slotjournal.com. We're also on Twitter at slotjournal, and of course on Facebook at slot.journal. Okay. Did you really think I was going to let you go without showing my obligatory shot of the shadow? So there you go. Happy now?